David Okoye sat at the back of his black SUV, staring out of the window. His eyes were red. Not because of the rain but because he had been crying again. He cried almost every night since his wife, Miriam, died 3 months ago. He still remembered the last day he saw her. She had been very weak and could not breathe well. The doctors did everything they could, but she slipped away like smoke in the wind. They had been married for 7 long years, and in all those years they never had a child. They prayed. They tried hospitals. They visited specialists in and outside the country. Nothing worked. So when Miriam died, she did not just leave David alone. She left him with a big empty space in his heart. A space where laughter should be. A space where a child should have been. "Sir, should we go straight home?" the driver asked. David opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. He just nodded. The driver started the engine and began to drive. The road was quiet. Only the sound of rain hitting the roof filled the car. Then, as they passed a small street near a slum, David suddenly heard something strange. It was very faint, very soft, but he heard it. "Stop the car," David said. The driver looked confused but obeyed. He parked by the roadside. David pushed the door open and stepped out into the rain. The water soaked his clothes at once, but he did not care. He closed his eyes and listened again. There was a small cry. A baby's cry. It was coming from somewhere near a row of dirty trash bins. "Sir, please get back inside. It's not safe," the driver shouted. But David did not stop. Something in that cry touched him deep inside. Something pulled him forward. He walked closer, his shoes splashing in muddy water. The crying became louder. He moved one trash bag aside. Then another. And then he froze. Inside a rusty metal dustbin wrapped in a dirty cloth was a tiny baby. A newborn. The little boy was shaking from cold. His face was red and his cries were weak. David's heart stopped. For a moment he felt as if time was standing still. The rain hit his face. Thunder rumbled far away. But all he could see was the baby. A baby, in a trash bin. Slowly, with shaking hands, he reached inside and lifted the child out. The baby was so light, so fragile, that David feared the boy would break if he held him too tightly. "Who would do this?" David whispered. The baby cried louder, almost as if answering him. The driver ran to him, shocked. "Sir, please let's go. We need to take the baby somewhere safe." David held the baby close to his chest. Water dripped from his hair, from his clothes, but the baby felt warm against him. A strange feeling filled his heart. It was not sadness. It was not fear. It was something else, something he had not felt in a long time. "Sir?" the driver asked again. David looked down at the baby, the tiny fists, the shaking lips, the desperate cry. "No," David said softly. "We're not taking him to the police station. We're not dropping him off." "Then where, sir?" David swallowed hard, his voice trembling. "Home. I am taking him home." The driver stared at him in shock. "Home? Sir, you can't just take a baby like this." "I can," David said. "And I will." He walked toward the car, still holding the baby. Inside the SUV, David removed his coat and wrapped it around the child. The baby slowly stopped crying. He blinked his little eyes and stared up at David as if he recognized him. A strange connection passed between them. A feeling David could not explain. They drove home through the rain. David held the baby the entire time. He did not look away, not even once. The small hands. The soft breathing. The innocence. Everything about the child made his heart ache in a new way, not with pain but with hope. When they reached the mansion, the workers were shocked. "Sir, whose baby is that? Where did you find him? What happened?" David did not answer any of them. He simply said, "Prepare a warm bath. Get clean blankets. Make some milk." The workers rushed around in confusion. David walked into his bedroom and sat on the edge of his bed, the baby still in his arms. The child had fallen asleep. His tiny fingers were curled around David's thumb. "You're safe now," David whispered. "I don't know who left you there. I don't know why. But you're safe." He looked around the room, the empty side of the bed where Miriam used to sleep, her clothes still in the wardrobe, her perfume still on the table. He felt a sharp pain in his chest. "She always wanted a child," he whispered. "We both did." He lowered his head and let the tears fall. "I wish she was here," he whispered. "She would have held you. She would have loved you." The baby moved slightly as if in response. David wiped his tears and held the boy closer. Maybe this is not an accident," he said quietly. "Maybe you were meant to be found." The baby slept peacefully in his arms. And for the first time in a very long time, David felt something inside him come alive again. Something warm. Something bright. Hope. The days after David found the baby were both joyful and confusing. Joyful because every morning he woke up and saw a tiny face smiling at him. Confusing because he still did not understand who would throw away such a beautiful child. He named the baby Destiny. Everyone in the house loved the baby. The cleaners played with him. The guards carried him around. Even the cook always made warm milk and soft mashed food for him. And David loved Destiny the most. Every time he held the baby, he felt something he had not felt in many months: peace. The sadness from losing Miriam did not disappear, but it became softer, easier to carry. One night, when Destiny had fallen asleep on his chest, David whispered, "I don't know who your mother is. I don't know where you came from, but I promise you one thing: I will take care of you. You will never suffer again." He meant every word. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Destiny grew stronger, happier, and more active. He crawled fast. He laughed loudly. He followed David everywhere like a little shadow. The whole mansion felt alive again. But life has a way of testing people when they least expect it. One evening, when the sun had already gone down, David noticed something strange. Destiny was unusually quiet. He was breathing fast and sweating even though the room was cool. David touched his forehead. It was burning hot. "Destiny?" he called softly. The baby didn't answer. He only cried weakly. David's heart jumped that he quickly wrapped the baby in a towel and ran out of the house. "Take the car," he shouted to the guards. They rushed him into the black SUV and drove at full speed to the hospital. When they arrived, nurses came running. "He has a high fever," one nurse said quickly. "Bring him inside." They carried Destiny into the emergency room. David followed, shaking, scared, and whispering prayers. Inside, doctors placed Destiny on a small bed, put cold cloths on his head, and started checking his breathing. The doctor in charge, a gentle-looking woman named Dr. Lady, turned to David. "Sir, we need to run a blood test immediately," she said. "Do whatever you need," David replied. She nodded and quickly gave instructions. A nurse took a small sample of Destiny's blood and rushed it to the laboratory. For a long time, David just stood there, pacing, rubbing his hands together, unable to sit still. The sound of the machine scared him. The smell of medicine made him feel weak. "Please let him be okay," he whispered over and over. After a while, a nurse returned. "Sir," she said politely, "we need your blood sample too." "My blood?" David asked, confused. "Why?" The nurse explained softly. "Sometimes babies react badly to infections because of their blood type. To give the right treatment, we need to check if your blood type can help the baby. Maybe for transfusion, or matching antibodies." David didn't fully understand, but he nodded. "Take it. Anything. Just help him." The nurse took his blood and left. Minutes later, Dr. Lady returned. She looked calm but serious. "Mr. David," she said, "the baby is stable for now. But we found something unexpected in the test." David's heart almost stopped. "Is he okay?" he asked. "Yes, he will be fine," the doctor said, "but there is something you need to know." She held a small white file in her hands. "We ran the blood test," she continued, "and something unusual happened. When we compared your sample with the baby's sample, the match was extremely strong." David frowned. "Match? What does that mean?" The doctor took a deep breath. "It means," her voice softened, "the baby shares the same rare blood markers as you." David blinked. "I don't understand." The doctor looked at him gently. "Mr. David, people who are not related do not share such strong blood similarities. It only happens between close family members, like father and child." The words hit David's ears slowly, like they were swimming through thick water. "Father and child." He shook his head. "No, that can't be. I don't have a child." Dr. Lady sighed. "Sir, science does not lie. We double-checked the test. The baby is biologically related to you." David felt like the ground moved beneath him. He grabbed a chair and sat down slowly. How is that possible?" he whispered. The doctor placed the file gently on the table. "I don't know the story," she said softly, "but I know the truth. Destiny is your son." David covered his face with both hands. His heart beat fast, heavy, confused. "My son?" he whispered. "A child I didn't know about? A child someone dumped in a dustbin?" His chest tightened. His eyes burned. So many questions rushed into his head. Who was the mother? Why didn't she tell him? Why would she throw away his child? Why would anyone hide something so important from him? The doctor placed a hand on his shoulder. Right now, focus on him, she said. He needs you. David stood there in the doctor's office, holding the paper that carried the truth. A truth that shook his heart so deeply he felt as if he could not breathe. His hands trembled, and his eyes kept going back to the last line of the report. The doctor had already explained everything, slowly and clearly, but David still could not believe it. The baby he found in a dustbin. The baby he brought home. The baby he fed, held, sang to, cared for. Was his own child. He sat down slowly, almost missing the chair behind him. His chest felt tight and he pressed his palm against it, trying to calm himself. The doctor watched him quietly, waiting for him to speak. So, my wife, Miriam, she knew? David whispered. The doctor didn't answer that part. He simply said, what I can confirm is that the DNA test shows a perfect match. This child is yours by blood. David swallowed. Art. His mind went back to months before Miriam died. He remembered the huge fights they had. The nights she cried and accused him of not loving her enough. The days she held on to him so tightly as if she was afraid he would disappear. He remembered something else too. A moment he didn't like to think about. A moment of weakness. A moment when he and one of his employees had crossed a line they should never have crossed. Maka. Just thinking her name made his heart beat even faster. He had tried to forget the mistake he made with her. He had told himself it meant nothing. He had promised Miriam it would never happen again, even though she never found out. At least he thought she didn't. But now everything felt confusing. Could it be that Amaka had been pregnant at that time? Could it be that Miriam had found out somehow? He looked up at the doctor. Where is the child now? Is he okay? Yes, the doctor replied with a gentle smile. He's stable. He only needed some medicine and fluids. Babies get infections easily, especially if they've been exposed to dirty places. But he will be fine. David let out a breath he didn't even know he was holding. He stood up slowly. I want to see him. Of course. The doctor led him back to the small room where the baby lay. The little boy was sleeping peacefully now, wrapped in a clean blanket. His tiny chest rose and fell softly. His eyelashes rested like little feathers against his cheeks. David walked to the bed and touched the baby's hand. The baby's tiny fingers curled around his thumb. That simple touch made David's eyes sting with tears again. My son, he whispered. He said it again, louder this time, as if the words were finally sinking into his heart. My son. The baby stirred a little but didn't wake up. David sat down by the bed and covered his face with both hands. He wasn't crying loudly. It was the quiet kind of cry, the kind that came from very deep inside. Who threw you away? He whispered. Who left you alone? Who made you suffer like this? A painful thought hit him. Was it Amaka? Did she really abandon the baby? Why would she do that? He needed answers. The next morning, after taking the baby home and making sure he was comfortable, David began searching for Amaka. It was not easy. She had disappeared months ago. Since she got fired, nobody heard from her again. He went through old employee files. He checked addresses, phone numbers, emergency contacts. Everything seemed dead. Switched off phones, empty apartments, neighbors who hadn't seen her in months. David refused to give up. Every time he looked at the baby sleeping in the little crib he bought, he felt a new kind of strength rise inside him. The baby needed the truth. And so did he. On the third day of searching, David finally got a lead. One of his old managers remembered something. She used to visit a women's shelter, the man said. I think she went there sometimes when she looked stressed. David left immediately. The shelter was in a quiet part of the city, painted light blue with small flowers by the entrance. He walked inside and spoke with the woman at the front desk. Hello, sir. How can we help you? She asked kindly. I'm looking for a woman named Amaka Obi. She used to come here months ago. It's important. The woman frowned thoughtfully and checked the records. After a minute, she nodded. Yes, she stayed with us a few times. She was pregnant then. David's breath caught. Do you know where she is now? The woman hesitated. She left a note with her forwarding address in case someone looked for her later. I can't give it out normally, but you look troubled, sir. And the note said only to give the address to someone who truly needed to find her. David nodded quickly. I do. Please. After a long pause, the woman slid a small card toward him. This is the address she left. David took it like it was gold. Thank you so much. He did not waste a second. He drove straight to the address. It was a very small house, old but clean. He knocked on the door. No one answered. He knocked again, louder this time. Finally the door opened a little. Amaka stood there. She looked thinner, tired, and scared. She didn't speak. She just stared at him like she was seeing a ghost. David stared back, stunned. He had imagined this moment many times, but reality felt heavier than he expected. "Amaka," he breathed. She swallowed, her eyes filling with tears. Why are you here?" David didn't yell. He didn't accuse. He didn't push the door open. He simply said the truth. "I found a baby thrown in a dustbin. I took him to the hospital. He was sick. While they were treating him, the doctors did a DNA test." Amaka's whole body froze. David's voice cracked when he continued, "The baby is mine, isn't he?" Amaka covered her mouth with both hands. Tears poured down her face instantly. She leaned against the doorframe, shaking as she cried, a deep, painful cry that came from a place full of hurt and secrets. "I didn't want to throw him away," she sobbed. "I didn't want to leave him. I loved him. I wanted to keep him, I wanted to tell you, but I had no job, no home, nothing, and Miriam." She stopped, her whole body trembling. David stepped closer. "What about Miriam?" Amaka shook her head, crying harder. "She found out, she threatened me, she made sure I got fired, she said if I told you the truth she would ruin my life, she said she would make people destroy you too." David felt like the wind had been knocked out of him. His wife, the woman he loved, the woman he mourned, had done all that? Amaka cried harder. "After I gave birth I had nowhere to go. No money. No support. No one to help me. I tried for 2 months, David, but I could not feed him. He was starving. I was starving. I didn't know what else to do. I thought someone else might pick him up. Someone better than me." David felt tears burning his own eyes again. Someone had picked up the baby. Him. He took a slow step toward her. "Where is he now?" she whispered. David answered softly. "He's home. With me. Safe. Healthy. And he will never, ever suffer again. I promise." Amaka sobbed into her hands. David spoke gently. "Come. Meet your son." Amaka looked up, shocked. You would let me?" "Yes," David said. "Because he deserves the truth. And you deserve peace." She nodded slowly, wiping her tears. As they walked toward the car together, David felt something shift inside his heart. He wasn't just holding the truth now. He was holding the beginning of a new life. For himself, for the baby, and even for Amaka. And he knew one thing for sure. This time he would not fail his child. Or himself. Or the future that waited for them all.